It didn't start like the kind of day that ruins your life. There wasn't any eerie silence or gut feeling warning me something was off. It was just a normal Tuesday, the kind where nothing happens until suddenly everything does. I woke up, went through the usual motions, and by dinner I was in handcuffs while my parents stood by watching like it was some unfortunate misunderstanding. If I had known how the day would end, I probably wouldn't have worn socks with holes in them. But of course, I didn't know. The knock came mid-afternoon. 2 officers at my door, both looking like they'd done this 100 times before. One tall, one built like a gym coach who'd forgotten how to smile. Emma Reynolds. The tall one said. My throat went dry. Not because I was guilty, but because no one expects cops on their doorstep without warning. Yeah, I managed. We received a tip about illegal substances at this address, he said flatly. We'd like to come in. My brain tripped over the words. Illegal substances. I wasn't even sure I heard him right. The street behind them looked exactly the same mailbox. Same tree, same nosy neighbors, dog butt. Everything suddenly felt tilted. Okay, I said, stepping aside. I didn't even think to refuse because why would I? I hadn't done anything wrong. I thought maybe this had to do with my sister, Jessie. She'd always been the one pushing limits. But then I saw my mom sitting in the living room, completely calm, cup of tea in her hand like this was just another Wednesday. Officer, she said, setting the cup down neatly. Emma's room is the 3rd door on the left. My brain froze. What? Why my room? I asked, looking between them. No one answered. My dad stood nearby, expression blank, not even looking at me. The officers didn't hesitate. They walked straight down the hall like they already knew where to go. Jessie stood at the top of the stairs, leaning against the railing, silent, phone in hand. She didn't even pretend to be surprised. Benny, my old mutt, lifted his head from the floor as the cops entered my room. He wagged his tail once, confused. The taller officer scanned the space, then the other opened my dresser drawer bottom one, where I kept folded t-shirts, and pulled out a sealed plastic bag filled with pills. My stomach dropped. Okay, that's not mine. I blurted out, laughing once because what else can you do when reality breaks? Neither officer reacted. They'd heard it all before. I turned toward my parents. Tell them, I said. That's not mine. One officer looked to my mom. You said earlier you've seen her with this bag. My mom's voice was soft. Yes, we didn't know what it was, but she's been distant. Distant. Like that explained it. My dad added quietly, she's been stressed. School, acting erratic. My mouth went dry. I stared at them, then at Jessie, who just watched silently, expression blank. You can't be serious, I said. Jessie, she's the one who, Emma, my mom, cut in sharply. Don't make this worse. And that was it. They cuffed me in the hallway while my parents stood there like polite strangers. Benny whimpered once before one of the officers told him to stay back. Jessie didn't move. She just watched as they led me out the door. I didn't cry. The cuffs were too tight and the air felt like it didn't belong to me anymore. The back seat of the police car smelled like disinfectant and old leather. I stared out the window as the house shrank away behind me. It didn't look like a crime scene. It looked like home, and that made it worse. Jessie had planted the drugs. My parents had backed her up. And I'd walked out quietly, like the family embarrassment they'd finally gotten rid of. It wasn't a surprise, not really. There had always been a favorite in our house, and it wasn't me. Jessie was the golden child older, brighter, effortlessly adored. I was just there, the quiet one, the background character. When Jessie brought home a crooked clay bowl from art class, my parents cleared a whole shelf in the living room to display it. When I painted something for the school fair, it ended up buried in a drawer with expired coupons. When she had a piano recital, they made iced tea for the neighbors. When I had a play performance, they forgot to come said. They thought it was just a rehearsal. They weren't cruel, just selective. Like I only existed between the moments they could brag about her. I thought if I was good enough, neat enough, quiet enough, maybe they'd finally see me. All it did was make me easier to ignore. Benny, though, saw me. He'd been Jessie's idea, originally a dog for responsibility. She'd said when we were kids. She loved him for 3 weeks before she got bored. Said he smelled, said he scratched the floor. My parents talked about putting him down because no one wanted to deal with him. I was 11. I begged to keep him. They reluctantly agreed, said, "Fine, but he's your responsibility." He became my everything. He followed me everywhere, slept pressed against my legs, wagged his tail when I entered a room. He was the only creature in that house who actually chose me. My grandpa was the only human who did. He lived 10 blocks away, in a little yellow house that smelled like toast and old books. When things got bad at home, I'd take Benny for a walk and end up there. Grandpa would make grilled cheese, nod while I talked, and never once tell me I was overreacting. Sometimes we'd sit on his porch until it got dark. Sometimes I didn't want to leave at all. Jessie went to college a few years later. The house felt different without her, quiet, but not peaceful. My parents texted her constantly, like she was the sun and they needed to make sure it was still shining. Then one day, she came back. No warning, no explanation, just college was toxic. She spent most of her time in her room, doors locked, sketchy friends visiting late. The smell of weed lingered under her door, but I didn't say anything. In our house, asking questions meant being accused of overreacting. I started noticing she hovered near my room more, pausing by the doorway, watching me too long. I told myself I was paranoid. I wasn't. The night the cops came, all those small moments started to click together. But by then, it was too late. The next morning, I woke up in a holding cell with cinder block walls and fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. They hadn't told me anything, no charges, no explanation. Just wait. My wrists still had marks from the cuffs. I sat on the hard bench, thinking about Benny, wondering if he thought I'd left him for good. I pictured my parents calling the shelter, saying, "We can't keep him under the circumstances." Like he was contaminated by association. And maybe I was too. When I woke up, the metallic taste of fear still coated my tongue. The holding cell was freezing, a dim yellow light flickering above me. My wrists ached from the cold steel cuffs that had been removed just minutes earlier. I sat on the narrow bench, heart thudding against my ribs, replaying the last few hours on a loop. The flashing lights, the shouting, Jesse's face as he was pulled away, my daughter crying, and now the suffocating silence of being alone, accused of something I didn't even understand. A detective finally came in, a tall woman with tired eyes and a folder clutched in her hand. "You're Anna?" she asked, flipping the folder open. I nodded, throat too dry to speak. She sighed, glancing down at the papers. "We've been reviewing the evidence. Do you know why you're here?" I shook my head. "They said something about fraud." But I didn't. She raised a hand, cutting me off. "Your husband, Jesse, listed you as a cosigner on several accounts used for illegal transfers. Over $200,000 have gone missing over the last year. It all traces back to an account in your name." I froze. "That's impossible," I whispered. "I don't even handle the finances. Jesse, he takes care of everything." Her expression didn't change. "We found your signature on the documents." Heart stopped. My signature. Just like the one my mom and sister had forged months ago. I leaned forward, shaking my head. "That's not me. You have to believe me. They did this, but I stopped myself." Saying it out loud made me sound insane. My mom? My sister? They wouldn't. Would they? The detective studied me quietly before closing the folder. "You're being released for now," she said. "But don't leave town. We may need to contact you again." She stood up, motioning for the guard. "You should talk to your husband when you get home." Home? The word felt foreign now. When I stepped outside, the night air hit me like a slap. My phone was dead, my hair a tangled mess, and my mind was a storm of questions. When I finally got home, the house was silent. The tree lights still blinked faintly, the same ones we'd hung together 2 nights ago. Jesse wasn't there. His wallet, his suitcase, even his coat gone. My daughter Emily was asleep on the couch, clutching her stuffed rabbit. A note lay on the table. My hands trembled as I picked it up. "Anna Dant, look for me." I didn't have a choice. They threatened, Emily. I'll fix this. Just trust me. I dropped the paper, my knees nearly giving out. They threatened Emily, who... My mom's voice echoed in my head from weeks ago. You don't understand how money changes things. Anna, sometimes you just have to let others handle it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, phone plugged in, scrolling through my messages. My emails, anything that could explain what was happening. At 3:17 a.m., I found it. A message from my mom. Sent to Jesse. The subject line, final transfer. The message was short. Once Anna signs, you're free to move forward. Make sure she doesn't ask questions. Keep her distracted. My stomach churned. I stared at the screen, blinking back tears. My family, the people I trusted most, had done this. They'd used me. They'd set me up to take the fall. When morning came, I drove to my parents' house. The entire way, I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd confront them. My hands shook on the steering wheel. As soon as I stepped inside, Mom smiled like nothing had happened. Sweetheart, you're okay. We were so worried. I stared at her, my heart pounding. Don't, I said quietly. I know. Her smile froze. Know what? About the transfers. About the fake documents. About Jesse. Her face paled, but she didn't deny it. Anna, she started softly, you don't understand. It was for your own good. Jesse owed money dangerous people. We had to protect you and Emily. You were the only one with clean credit, so you forged my name. I snapped, tears burning my eyes. You used me to cover your mess. We didn't have a choice. She shouted back, her calm facade cracking. Your father was sick. Jesse was desperate. It was the only way. I stepped back, disgust washing over me. You always find a way to justify the damage you cause. My sister walked in then, holding a mug of coffee, eyes widening when she saw me. You weren't supposed to find out, she muttered. I turned to leave, but my mom grabbed my arm. Anna, please. We can fix this together. I yanked my arm free. No, Mom, you fix this. I walked out and drove straight to the police station. This time, I wasn't the one being questioned. I handed over every message, every bank statement, every forged document I'd found. The detective listened carefully, nodding as she pieced everything together. By the time I was done, my voice was shaking, but my heart felt lighter. 2 weeks later, I got a call. Mrs. Taylor, the detective said, we've arrested your husband and your mother for financial fraud and identity falsification. Your accounts have been cleared of charges. I didn't respond right away. I just stood there staring out the window as the first snow of January began to fall. Emily ran up behind me, tugging on my sleeve. Mommy, can we build a snowman? I smiled weakly. Yeah, sweetheart. We can. As we stepped outside, I felt something shift inside me. The betrayal still hurt, but for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid. I had lost my husband, my family, and nearly my freedom, but I'd gained something else, the truth. And I wasn't going to let anyone take that away again. 3 months later, I thought the nightmare was finally over. The court hearings were exhausting, but the truth had come out in full. My mom and Jesse were both found guilty, she for orchestrating the fraud. He for assisting and manipulating me into signing without realizing what I was authorizing. I thought I'd finally have peace. But peace is fragile, especially when family is involved. It started with the phone calls. Unknown numbers. Late at night. Silence on the other end when I answered. Then came the letters, no return address. Just envelopes slipped under my door with phrases like, you made a mistake and you'll regret this. I took them to the police, but they couldn't trace them. Probably someone connected to the case, the officer said. It'll die down soon, but it didn't. One night, as I tucked Emily into bed, I noticed a shadow moving outside the window. My breath caught, and I quickly pulled the curtains shut. I called the police again, but by the time they arrived, there was no one there. They found footprints in the snow, though too large to be mine or Emily's. The detective I'd worked with before came by the next day. Anna, she said carefully, we think your sister might be involved. She wasn't charged, but she was financially connected to the accounts your mother opened. I blinked, stunned. Lydia. She said she didn't know anything. The detective gave me a sympathetic look. She's been visiting your mother in jail every week. We believe she's trying to continue what they started. My stomach twisted. Lydia, the one I still texted occasionally, the one who told me she just wanted things to go back to normal. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me jump. Around r.a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lydia. You shouldn't have gone to the police. You destroyed everything. I stared at the message for a full minute before blocking her number. My hands shook as I held the phone. I didn't reply. I couldn't. A few days later, Emily's school called. Mrs. Taylor, her teacher, said, "There's someone here claiming to be Emily's aunt. She said she's here to pick her up early." My blood ran cold. "Don't let her leave with anyone," I said immediately. "I'm on my way." When I arrived, Lydia was standing in the hallway, her face pale and nervous. "Anna, please," she started. "I just wanted to talk." By pretending to be her guardian, I snapped. "You've lost your mind." She looked around, lowering her voice. "You don't understand. Mom's sick. She's been asking for you. If you don't come see her, what?" I demanded. "Steal something else from me?" Lydia's eyes filled with tears, but I was too tired to care. "Stay away from me and my daughter," I said coldly, turning to walk away. "Or next time, I won't just block your number." That night, after putting Emily to bed, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my reflection in the dark window. I didn't recognize myself anymore. The woman looking back was harder, sharper, tired beyond her years. I had cut off nearly everyone from my past friends who didn't believe me. Relatives who said I overreacted. It was just me and Emily now. And somehow that had to be enough. A week later, a letter arrived. This one wasn't anonymous. It was from my mother. "Anna," it began, "I know you hate me. I don't blame you. But I need you to know Jesse wasn't who you thought he was. There's more to the story. You're still in danger." I read the letter twice, my hands trembling. More to the story. What could possibly be left to uncover? I shoved the letter into a drawer and tried to forget about it. But that night, as I lay awake, I couldn't shake her words. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed, again an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. A man's voice, calm and unfamiliar, spoke on the other end. "Mrs. Taylor," he said, "your husband owed us a lot of money. We think you can help us get it back." My blood ran cold. Who is this? Silence, then click. The line went dead. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. The police traced the number the next day, but it was unregistered burner phone, most likely. "It could be someone trying to intimidate you," the detective said. "But stay alert." Over the next few days, I noticed small things going missing from the house mail left open. A window slightly ajar, the back gate unlocked. Someone had been here, watching, waiting. One night, while locking the doors, I heard Emily cry out from her room. I ran upstairs and found her sitting up in bed, shaking. "Mommy, there was a man outside my window," she whispered. My chest tightened. I rushed to the window, but there was nothing there. Just snow and darkness. That was the breaking point. The next morning, I packed our bags and drove us to a rental cabin 3 hours away. I didn't tell anyone where we were going, not even the detective. For the first time in months, I felt safe. But as I stood on the porch that night, watching the wind whip through the trees, I knew deep down that safety was temporary. My family's lies had started something much bigger than I understood. And even though I'd escaped for now, I could feel it. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 2 years passed since that last night at the cabin. Life had finally settled into something resembling normal. Emily was thriving at school, and I had managed to open my own small accounting firm. Working quietly under my maiden name to avoid unwanted attention. The constant fear had dulled, replaced by cautious peace. But deep down, I always knew the past had a way of finding you when you least expect it. It started again on a cloudy Tuesday morning. I was sorting through mail at the office when an envelope caught my I know return address, but the handwriting stopped me cold. My fingers trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a single piece of paper with just 3 words written neatly in blue ink. "You're still not safe." My heart raced. For a moment, I thought it was a cruel prank, some remnant of my paranoia. But there was something else in the envelope, a photo. It was of me and Emily taken just last weekend outside her school. Someone had been following us. I rushed to the police station demanding answers, but they couldn't do much. The officer sighed and said, "Without proof of who's sending these, we can't press charges." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every noise outside felt amplified. I moved Emily into my room and sat awake beside her bed until dawn. The next morning, a black car was parked across the street. I saw it again the day after that. And the day after? Each time the driver's face was hidden behind tinted glass. I began documenting everything: license plates, dates, times. The detective assigned to my case reviewed the notes and frowned. "These plates don't exist in our system," she said. "Whoever's behind this knows how to stay hidden." A week later, I got a call from the prison. The woman on the line introduced herself as a counselor at the facility where my mother was being held. "Mrs. Taylor," she said gently, "I'm sorry to inform you that your mother passed away last night." I froze. My mind went blank. "How?" I whispered. "Heart failure." "It was sudden," she replied. "But she left something for you." I hesitated. "A letter." "No," the counselor said. "A safety deposit key." My pulse quickened. The next day, I went to the bank listed in the counselor's email. Inside the box was a small black notebook filled with names, dates, and amounts. At the very end, one line stood out in red ink. "If anything happens to me, look for Lydia, my sister." My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. Every entry pointed to transactions, money moving between shell accounts. Some under fake identities I recognized from the old fraud case. And Lydia's name appeared more than once. That night, I called the detective. "You need to reopen this case," I said. "It wasn't over when Mom went to prison." She sighed. "Anna, we've been through this." "No," I interrupted. "You don't understand. She's been laundering money. My mom kept proof." The detective agreed to meet. But before she could, my office was broken into. Nothing was stolen except one thing: the notebook. My stomach dropped when I saw the shattered glass and empty drawer. Whoever took it knew exactly what they were looking for. That night, Emily and I checked into a hotel under fake names. I couldn't risk staying home. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. It was a photo of the notebook, and beneath it, a message: "We warned you to stay quiet." My hands went numb. Emily stirred beside me, half asleep. "Mommy, are we going home soon?" she murmured. I forced a smile. "Soon, sweetheart," I whispered, though my voice shook. The next morning, I went to the detective again. "It's her," I said. "It's Lydia. She's trying to clean up what's left of Mom's operation." The detective studied me, then nodded slowly. "We've been monitoring her," she admitted, "but we didn't think she'd go this far." Within days, police raided Lydia's house. They found ledgers, encrypted files, and offshore account links, all connecting her to the money my mother had stolen years ago. When they brought her in, she didn't deny it. She just looked at me and said, "You could have been part of this, Anna. You ruined everything." I felt nothing but exhaustion. Watching her being led away in handcuffs didn't bring relief, only the hollow realization that my family had been broken long before I ever knew it. Months later, I stood by the lake near our cabin, watching Emily skip stones across the water. The air was crisp, peaceful. "Mom," she said suddenly, "are we safe now?" I hesitated before answering. "Yes, baby," I said softly. "We're safe." But deep down, I wasn't sure. Because safety isn't a place, it's a fragile illusion built on trust. And once that trust is shattered by the people who were supposed to love you most, you never fully get it back. As the sun dipped behind the trees, I took a deep breath and made a silent promise. Whatever came next, I would protect my daughter no matter what it cost. Because in the end, that's all that was left: Her, me, and the truth I fought to keep from being buried forever.